Everybody, welcome back to the Purplatypus is the name, and today we are looking at our boy Dantalion here. I'm going to be going over a build for him, the equipment I recommend, the build I recommend for his skills, and units that I think will be really good for him in combat. And I'll kind of go over, I'm not going to go over the other characters' builds, but I will just give you a quick reason why I think that those units are going to be good with Dantalion. So, first and foremost, let's take a look here. Actually, I should say first and foremost, call to action. If any of you like the video, when you get to the end, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, you know that shit. That all helps the YouTube stuff. But if you don't like the video, you could also just you don't want to support the video by leaving a comment, get on Discord, DM me directly, say, hey, you piece of shit. It's not Dantalion. It's you're saying it wrong. It's Dantalion. Whatever, bro. All right, calm down. It's one letter away from Dandelion. So I say Dantalion because I like it. Anyway, let's talk about the character. So first, let's go over his trait and how important it is to level up his trait. So attack and defense 5%. For every one character defeated in battle, he recovers 20% HP and an energy. Let's go all the way up to level 5 here. Attack and defense, HP attack and defense 15%. And for every character defeated in battle, he recovers 35% HP and an energy. I think this has potential to be the lowest priority star up character. Now, don't get me wrong. 5% attack and defense is a lot worse than 15% HP attack and defense. But really, it's not changing his core, his identity. He's not like at 3-star, he completely changes. Everything is different. He's basically just a little bit stronger. It's basically just some stat increases. That's it. Not very important. It will obviously get him 5-star. You'll deal more damage, but I think this is a very low star priority character, meaning if you get him at 1-star, I think you could safely fully build him, and you're going to get like 80% of the value out of him potentially, which is great. So it's a pretty generic buff, but honestly, this healing 20% whenever any character is defeated, and there's no cap on it, is really good. We'll jump right over to the tarot really quick. There's a couple tarots you could use, but the reason I'm using Devil is basically it kind of doubles down. As characters die, he is going to heal, and he's also going to get permanently stronger for the rest of the fight. I think the Devil is really good on him. You could also increase, I mean, all the tarots are good. You can increase his critical chance, right? There's so many tarots that are good. I personally, for a damage dealing character, I just like having the Devil on most of my characters. It's simple, it's good, it has the best overall stats as long as you're not fighting a one-on-one boss, and it synergizes pretty well with this because you're already letting characters die. So, but before we actually get into the rest of the equipment, let's actually look at the skills here, what I'm doing. So, Unsheath is the one that I took here. However, I do think if you're gonna go, there's two main ways you could build him here. I feel like you can go with a more melee focus or a ranged focus. I'm going with a ranged focus, and I think you actually could argue Inspired Healing is better than Unsheath. However, Unsheath is clearly a better ability, especially if you're leveling this character up, like you get him early. Before initiating an active melee attack, you deal magical damage equal to 40% of your physical attack. So before you attack, you're going to go up to attack someone. Before you do it, you're going to slice them by unsheathing your weapon. And you're going to inflict vulnerable too. Then, if they have a shield. If they don't have a shield, you don't get the good part of it. But you're doing at least the 40%. Then you attack them for your big hit, which is really good. It's a fantastic ability, but it only activates on melee attacks, which you might think, duh, this guy has a sword. This guy has more range attacks than frickin' anyone else in the game. Even all the way, if you look at his main signature ability here, Dawnlight, this is a ranged attack. One of his upgraded unique weapon, unique auto attack is a ranged attack. So Unsheath isn't working on these abilities, which is unfortunate. But again, if you're not using those specific abilities, Unsheath is going to be really, really good for a lot of stuff. So level 2 here, I think energy depleting blow is good, but I'm not going to be taking it. I could get that on Enforcer if I really, really want it. And how many of it do you really need on the team? Is it that good? Not really. But Daybreak is some great AoE. I like having the option to have AoE. Even if I'm going to build this character for more single target damage, I like this. Deals 40% physical damage to all enemies in a 3x2 square. No healing. They can't be healed after that. And then you hit them again for 40%. And you remove 2 debuffs. So you hit them for 80% over 2 different types of attacks. So it's probably worth more than the average 80%. It's probably like closer to 85% because you're attacking their strongest. They're always doing 40% to their weakest defense as well. So characters that have a lot of physical but low magical will take you know, basically, if you would have done 80% physical, it would have done less, but doing 40 and 40 on average, I think is going to equate to a little bit more damage. I think the split damage type is actually good here, unless I'm mistaken, but it seems good to me. Getting rid of their healing received is great, and dispelling 2 buffs is also great. Overall, a good ability, not insane, but it's more of like a debuffing ability, and you're not doing it as much for the damage, but it is still good AoE damage, and being able to dispel buffs is not nothing. Being able to reduce melee attacks by 30%, I think is really good. However, I actually think I might like Tenacity more with the range build, because you can see here, I got him kind of early, and I was going for more of a melee build, even though I just like Daybreak more. But I end up switching and going more of a ranged build, and this becomes a lot worse when you're at range, because you don't get attacked in melee as much, but still, 30% decreased damage is great. Now here, I think 4 Iria is just obviously better than the other one here. Destructive Storm is cool. It does cool AoE damage within a huge radius, but it's only 50% damage. And it inflicts 2 level 2 attribute debuffs, but it's like, it's a lot of energy for honestly just not that much. Like, it looks cool because it's so big, but its damage is too low. And the attribute debuffs are not that good. Bring in Abyss with Void Ripple or something if you really want to do that kind of stuff. Not impressed with Destructive Storm. For Iria, though, normal leader aura. Besides the normal leader aura for Iria allies, you also deal 20% more damage if they have 3 or more debuffs. I mean, this ability here already does a debuff. I mean, it's true, this one here does 2 debuffs, but it's not that hard. Like, there's even items that let you do debuffs. There's a lot of ways to get debuffs on characters. So this is pretty easy to get off. It's not the easiest thing to get off. You know, you do have to put in a little bit work to it. Like, this Dantalion's not going to do it on his own. But yeah. I still think it's very, very good, and typically you're going to want to be using that. White Sword is probably better. You could argue Shield Break is better because it does more damage, and it has Shield Break, and it's melee, so it works with Unsheath. However, White Sword is a ranged attack, and it does magic. It's so nice to have ranged attacks. Even if you're losing 10% damage, the fact that you could almost always get off an attack is just good. It also looks cooler. It feels cooler, because you're using a sword to attack with a magical ranged attack. It feels like you're Link, you know, throwing your lightsaber thing at the people. Not lightsaber, but, you know, when you're at full hearts, you do that. This is what Link does. It's a very cool ability, but it's also good. The range 2, I think it's just going to be better. It also lets you attack, like, down 5 and up 3. So you're way more likely to be able to just land an attack on a turn where maybe you don't have energy, because you're not always going to have 4 energy every single turn, or even 3 energy every single turn for Dawnblade, unless something's dying, which you could probably do it most turns, but not every turn. And then finally, Endless Dawn. I like having Endless Dawn, but I actually don't keep it on my hotbar all the time with my build. But again, if you're going with a melee build with Unsheath, I think that this is going to be probably your best skill. But this is what's kind of weird. Is not only is he a physical character that does mostly magical damage, which is fine, because, you know, it scales properly, but also he has this weird combination of melee attacks and then range attacks, because this doesn't even count as a melee attack either. This is an AoE ground attack. So, you know, if you have like the only melee attack he has is his basic attack, his weak one, and then it's like this one, Endless Dawn. These are like the 2 melee attacks he has. So Unsheath is very good, but it's kind of hard to make it actually work, even though I do love it. But again, it just working with Endless Dawn is probably good enough, and most of the time, because you deal 40% damage 3 times, so 120%. Then you deal 50% magical damage in a 3x3 area. So you hit one person for 120, then you hit an AoE 50%. And again, that 120 is actually going to be another 40% if you're using Unsheath. So it's even more powerful, and it might inflict vulnerable if they have a shield. And then it only does it to the first enemy in each column, which is kind of a weird, because it means if there's anyone behind him, I don't even know why these squares are lit, because you have to target a character, right? And then it's always going to hit the character you targeted, I'm pretty sure. So I don't even think you can hit behind that character, but you'll be able to hit one character in each of these tiles. You do knock them back 2 tiles and dispel a buff. So overall, it's a great ability. It's not like the biggest damage nuke, but it's almost like a single target. It's a really good single target attack with a little bit of AoE, but it also has knockback, and it can also dispel. So it just kind of does a lot. It's an ability you would use every turn if you could, which is fine. Although it might not be as high of a damage attack always as the other one here. So these are the abilities that I recommend getting. I actually do think that Inspired Healing might be better than Unsheath in some situations. However, Unsheath is probably just a better pick overall, because you're just going to end up using it until you're like level, You're going to use it up until rank 9, where you'll probably not use it almost ever anymore. And then at rank 11, you might switch back once you get Endless Dawn. But how am I building them here? Currently on my bar, I am using 4 Iria. I am using Dawnlight, which is my favorite attack of his, although it doesn't look that insane, but it does remove buffs. And they actually turn them into debuffs, which is very good with his ability, right? So if they have buffs, not only does it dispel it, it basically replaces them with debuffs, even though they're only level 1. That's still good. Heir of Royalty, I don't know if I love, but White Sword I do love. And then Endless Dawn, I'm actually not using as much as Daybreak, but Endless Dawn just feels like you should be using it. But if I'm using Endless Dawn, I'm going to use Unsheath. And at that point, then am I not using Dawnlight? Am I not using 4 Iria? So I actually don't know. Even though I like Endless Dawn, I end up using this more because I like that it dispels buffs, it does the healing down. I tend to like this ability more because it's an AoE ground ability. So you could target this even if you're not next to an enemy. However, I mean, Endless Dawn is probably one of the better abilities. But because I'm using Dawnlight almost every turn, I think, with its range of 3, I'm probably not going to use Endless Dawn that much. However, if you have just a little bit of energy restoration, and he already does because he can kill shit, it is not unreasonable to use Endless Dawn every turn, or at minimum every other turn. So if he's running around, one way you could build him, you have Unsheath, you have Endless Dawn, and then you have 4 Iria, and you just absolutely you just run around, you Endless Dawn every single turn and try to kill something, and then you just do it again and again and again because you get energy back when you kill shit. So that is viable. But I'm going with a different route here. I'm going with a high ground build, which is kind of interesting. But if you see here, we have this one sword that everyone hates, the Beheading Machete. When attacking from Highland, attacks increased by 10%. So if we take a look at it, what does it go up to 5-star? It goes up to 15%, which isn't insane. But when you already have an advantage when you're attacking from Highland, right? I don't remember what it is. I think it's a damage boost. But when you're attacking from Highland, you already have an advantage. And then now you're getting an additional, 6 to 15% bonus damage. And you're like, but this sword is terrible. How do you get Highland on a sword character? Boom, Dawnlight. Range of 3, can attack down 5, up 3. This is so easy to get a Highland advantage on. It's actually crazy because, all they have to do is have one tile within 3 squares of them that has 2 up and 2 down. We're also doubling down on this with the True Lens. You get extra physical attack. I would love for this to be higher right now. I would love this to be the 5%. But when attacking from Highland, your crit increases by 20%. So he's getting bonus crit, bonus attack, and another bonus attack when he's doing this. So I really like that. I do think there is, for the tarot, I've already talked about, but I think you could go with the increased crit chance and increased crit damage. I think that's reasonable. I wouldn't mind using this on him. I just like the Devil because it scales really well into fights. Where it's this is more of an alpha thing. I feel like you end up doing more damage over the course of a fight when you get the 30% bonus attack and defense, right? That's huge. But yeah, this is how I'm building him. We'll take a look at the team that I have set up for him right here. Let's go ahead and go in Voyage. All right, so for a min-max team, this is roughly what I'm looking at here. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that this is a 6 legend unit team. So people are unlikely to have all these units. So I will give you substitutions basically that I think will maybe make the team a little bit weaker, but still will be strong overall. So why are we picking each of these units, and who could you replace them with? The only one that I think is not really replaceable and I think is really, really good is Edda. So Edda is currently on, I think her banner just left, but she's so good because, again, Dantalion does do magical damage. So he does some of his attacks will do physical, but most of what I'm using is this is 100% magical damage. This is 100% magical damage. So even this does mostly physical, but you can make it, it still does some magical damage. So Edda is the magical damage pro, right? She could throw Liquor on people, and Liquor lowers their magic defense by 40%. It also lowers their movement. It also lowers their speed. So it is really good for setting up and killing shit. Very, very good. This is the main reason why we're bringing her. Now for Edda, I actually do like having Roaring Flint, because if you don't want the Liquor, because once you do the Liquor debuff, you don't necessarily need it. So you can now then turn the Liquor into fire tiles to also scorch the target for another debuff. Overall, that's good, but that's a little more, we don't really need to talk about that as much, I suppose. But also the box. The box is guaranteed to give you high ground. If you have an enemy here, and let's see, this is only 1 up, right? This is 10, this is 11. You could put a box anywhere within 3 tiles of him and have Dantalion stand on it, and Dantalion is going to have guaranteed high ground advantage. So she is so good with Dantalion, with the ability to shred magical defense and the ability to put down the box. Also, very important, she is an Iria ally. She is Iria, so she is getting the leader buff, which is very good. And she's good at dealing damage too. It's not her main thing, but also then buffing him with extra damage, extra magic defense, extra move. It's like she's just such a perfect unit to go with Dantalion that I don't think she's that replaceable. Now, the other character here that is definitely replaceable, but is so good with Edda. This is almost like, well, I have Dantalion, so I want Edda, but I have Edda, so I want Nungal. Nungal is almost the exact same reason, is really good. She does entirely magic damage, right? Your physical damage is turned into magical damage, always. And then, on top of that, she also wants Highland advantage a lot of the time, because she doesn't need it necessarily, but it's good. So her being able to be on Highland advantage is just good. She does tons of magic damage, like some of the best single target magic damage in the game. So very, very good here, but she is replaceable. I would replace her probably with someone like Ballista. You could also replace her with like, it's kind of tough. Like, you could replace her with Night Raven. Night Raven is definitely a great character. But if you're going to replace her with Night Raven, you're going to want to do some more replacements. So this is something that is possible. But let's go ahead and say we want to do Night Raven. It's different. You're going to get more in their face with Night Raven, but it's still good. So next up is going to be Inanna. Inanna is here because she's just the most insane character in the game. Obviously, she's replaceable. She doesn't have any specific reason why she's like absolutely insane. She just has a bunch of buffs. She has the ability to dance someone. She has the guard that lets you basically, you know, take free hits for your teammates. And then increases magic attack by 6%. For each character defeated within 5 tiles, she gets more magic attack, which is, I guess, mostly going to be for her healing. But she's just an insanely good character. But honestly, if you don't want to use her and you are using you're using Night Raven here, I would use Candlelight. Candlelight is not as good overall, in my opinion. However, you could also use Angel, but these characters are both Iria allies. So Candlelight is a healer and a support unit, and then Nightingale is basically a replacement damage dealer. However, Night Raven really wants you to be able to hit with the Hangsman mark, and so you want ways to be able to actually do the Hangman's mark. So I would probably use Candlelight. You could also use Angel for more of a dedicated, powerful healer, but this is more synergistic if you're using Night Raven, because now you have the ability to actually put Hunter's Mark on characters and basically go all out on that, because this puts the Hangman's Mark and it gives, you know, a heal, lowers their speed. It's very good as well, although the speed lowering is not as important if you have the liquor debuff, I'll admit. Outside of that, the reason we're using Rawia is because Rawia is she's great at everything. She's just good at everything. She's kind of got self-sustained, so you don't need to worry about having your healer focus healing on Rawia. Rawia can just keep it up. She holds the front line pretty well because she is reasonably tanky, but also after she gets attacked, she could heal a large amount of herself, and then her turn comes up, she could heal more. She has the ability to go heavy AoE damage with her Gale Spin attack, or she has the ability to go single target damage. But she is also an Iria ally, which is, I think, very powerful because you want that 10% and 20% buff. And she also has the Sword of Convallaria buff herself, which can increase damage dealt by 8% and decrease damage taken by 8%. So we're not using a lot of Sword of Convallaria allies, but I think she's just so generically a good unit that she fits with the overall fight. But you can see Inanna here, if you have her, is also a Sword of Convallaria unit, so that also stacks. And also Phycal here. So we're using Phycal mostly because he's our way of doing debuffs. You could run like an Abyss, but everyone has Phycal. And then once you get him high enough, you basically get it. So once he's at 3 stars, he has a 100% chance to inflict debuffs. And because the Iria buff increases your damage by a lot if they have 3 debuffs, he is basically our most consistent way to get a bunch of debuffs on characters. So you could use Alert Shot to get, you know, a couple attacks. You could use your Rapid Fire to just do 110% damage while also doing 2 debuffs. And your Gale Billow Volley does 5 instances of damage to random enemies, you know, but like, if you target the same guy multiple times, it does insane damage, but also it'll just load up on debuffs. So overall, I think that's going to be pretty good. And yeah, that's the team I'm going with. You don't need replacements for these because everyone has them, right? They're free as long as you've been playing for a while. But if you did really, really want to go all in, you could use Enforcer here. and then you could use Stinger here. You know, if you want to go for the full Hangman team, you absolutely can. I still think if you're going to go for a full Hangman team like this, then it's on part of me is like, well, you probably don't even need Dantalion at this point. You might want to use Nungal for the more synergy for putting Hangman's mark on. But I do think that if you go like this, I think this is reasonable for sure. I do think Edda is the one that I wouldn't replace. However, if you have to replace Edda, let's take a look. Who would I replace her with? I would probably replace her with Inanna if you had her. I might just even go with like Angel, someone that just does like better healing. You might just go with like Butterfly. Butterfly gives everyone lifesteal, kind of helps keep everyone alive while also being a little bit of a damage, but also being able to dispel debuffs while also being able to give everyone extra attack and lifesteal. She's just overall a good unit, so I think that could be good. You might even want to replace her with someone like who has the Outlaw Crosswoman has the Armor Eroder. I think that could be pretty good as well. You know, you actually lower their magic defense, which is kind of the similar thing. Because Enforcer can also lower speed, and this character can also lower speed, so you may not need the Liquor as much. But she's really hard to replace. I don't think anyone quite does what she does in this game so far. But yeah, that's the Dantalion squad. Before we really go into it, let's at least take a look at his attack. I could show like a gameplay thing of a fight, but I actually don't know if they could win this fight right now because they're not like built, you know, because I have the other version of the team built. But anyway, let's kind of give an idea of how Dantalion works with at least with Edda, right? So let's get you up here. Did I bring Urgent Order? I did not bring Urgent Order. That's on me. Stinger is really good because when you get people dying, the Hangman suddenly just absolutely obliterate characters, which is really good on bosses. It's a little bit less good on these things. Can't quite reach them. That's okay. Don't worry about it. And you know what? Give everyone juice. Can you target? She can't target herself. That's so weird. It's all right. Just do this for fun. I think it's an instant ability too. It's like an insane Candlelight's super good. So let's put a box. 1, 2, 3. I think you could attack here, right? Let's take a look. What tile is this? This is 7, 8, 9, 10. That's only 3. Yeah, so you could absolutely go here. Let's do this. Oops. Now you're slow as shit. We could put Dante Boy here. And then we could do a buff. So like it's super easy to set up. Although I should have shown you how it's hard to set up exactly where I could be like, oh, how much damage are we going to do if we don't have the buff versus if we do? Hey, good job. So this is not a low ground, right? That's 7. This is 8. So we could do 4,286 there. Or if we come up here, we could do 5,223 just from having the high ground. And this is assuming we don't get a crit, which we do get bonus crit chance. But like that's pretty darn good. And then, you know, if you wanted to, let's go ahead and move him down here. This is something you might do more if you're using Unsheath as opposed to what we're doing. But it's such a cool ass attack. Right, and then so what's good about that is when he gets a kill, like he's at 5 energy right now, but when he kills this guy, you now get... One, you get additional tactic points when you attack from high ground, which is good. But also now, instead of going down to, he only went down to 4. Even though this ability costs 3, because he gained 1 at the end of his turn, and he gained 1 for killing a character, the ability only actively costs 1, which is huge. It means you could use it many, many turns in a row. And then, I don't know, we could probably win this fight no problem, if I'm being honest, just based off Dantalion being really strong. But I think Edda is the main synergy, and then you're kind of just looking for characters to fill stuff. And then I think synergy is actually really strong in this game. I don't want you to overlook synergy. Oh, you didn't actually get to hit anybody. It's okay. Night Raven hits harder than almost anybody. Night Raven is a fucking monster, bro. Damn, you can't actually... Wanted Notice is really strong, but with this kind of map where it's this high up and down, it's not going to be great. Oh, did you slow yourself? Nope, you're good. Oh, no. All right. You just walk around. I think you heal everybody still. I think you do it 2 turns in a row, right? Yeah, let's go. And then you could hit. I will say this is a very vertical map. I am gonna move you down here. There we go. And you get 2 kills, so you're actually gonna get 2 energy back when you use this, right? And even put a bomb down. And look at his devil's going off now. When your devil starts going off, you absolutely pop. But also, this is what I love about this ability here. If you hit this guy, you're actually going to get... Oh, you don't have a weapon on. Fuck. Actually, I think you are going to get 2 kills. No, because this guy doesn't have the hangman's mark. Dang it! You will kill this guy, but I want you to kill both of them to show you how good Stinger is. But you're going to hit him with the hangman mark. And then you're going to kill him. Because of the killing thing, right? So, like, but if we would have had a different way, if we would have, actually, can we go back? Can we show how good Stinger is here? Can we go all the way back here and do this on you? On you, yes. Let's go. I want you to come here again. I want to show you how good Stinger is, okay? You stand by here. Okay, so you both have the hangman's mark. I am going to still do this because I want to. Well, I want Stinger to... Actually, I don't. I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to kill this guy instead. This is now a Stinger showcase. No! Okay, we can still get there. Awesome. Okay, so now, even though, look how much damage he does, right? You do 470 damage. You do 608 damage. That's not nearly enough to kill, but because you're badass, you instantly die. And then your attack at the end of the turn, boom, you instantly die. Like, once they get low, Stinger can execute fucking 2 enemies a turn, no problem, bro. And then, honestly, I think if you do, like, I think if you have the other ability here, where you have this, I think that'll actually work with it as well. After an attack, if the target is dying, I don't know if that would work, but if you had the AoE down here, you might be able to, like, kill both of these guys in one attack and then kill that guy as well. So Stinger's badass. You should be using Stinger more. He's great at killing shit. But this is the Dantalion team. This is the, I mean, we could win this no problem. I don't want to keep making the video longer for no reason. But that is how you build our boy Dantalion. Again, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave it a like. Go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, all that jazz. If you didn't like it, you can let me know as well. That's okay. Tell me how I can improve. I'm okay with that. But until next time, guys, the Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! Platypus on the rise, watch the views.